День очень добрый. Так, где пук? Майнкрафт исчез. Линии Майнкрафта. Похоже, все хорошо. Че, ты живой там, не? В чатике. Базика живой, все хорошо. Ты отошел, сообщений не видел. Супер хороший играть с пылесосом. Да я не играю. В смысле? Да нет, это правда. В смысле отникнуть? Я когда-нибудь вам врал? Своим зрителям я когда-нибудь врал? Нет, конечно. Такого не было. Что у нас там чистер делает? Понятно.
Смотрю ли я Рика и Морти? Не особо.
А зря чистер.
А должен?
Да, должен. Клёвый мультик. Что Ламыч делает?
С днем защиты детей и с днем ВДВшника.
Спасибо, брат. Чувствую, я теперь согласен. Да идите нахер со своими звездными войнами.
Заметили, на этот раз он к нам погнал.
Сука. Куда задонатить? Плюс майн. Короче, я перезапущу эту ОБС-ку. Короче.
Throughout the convention, we just had a brief walk around this morning, but they really did do a very impressive job setting things up. I think most of us have been to a lot of the different conventions around the world. It's always the first one or the first few that really develop that character and flavor to what the companies want to bring and show the world.
Я тоже думал, я
I
не
have to
вернусь.
say, this is certainly one of the more impressive ones that I have seen. So, a lot of good things so far.
I don't know if you guys get the full scope of this, but this
Это
is
европейский
about 3
поперечный
stories
слева
high.
сидит.
We went up to the 3rd story and were able to kind of look down over it. And yes, it's littered with a bit of grimdark corpsery, bit of corpse art.
Господи.
Very
Yes,
good.
it was very
Конфликт
noisy setting
вернулись.
this up, I
Ладно,
imagine.
секунду. Ой, стример, не слава богу. Сейчас дырочку найдем. Все, нашел, кажется.
Realistic.
I mean, yeah. Volunteers?
Yes. Or involunteers.
We've seen a lot of fantastic stuff around here. There's a lot of like art up, and even the merch store is very cool looking with palisade walls and stuff like that. So, GGG have outdone themselves. I know from talking to Chris about this in the lead up, he's been ridiculously exciting, like kind of nerding out about this whole concept of doing this. I think it's something he's always wanted to do. So, I feel like they've spared no expense on
В
it.
смысле,
Kind of
пылесос?
decking it
For a
up.
small indie company, they're doing okay.
Yeah, doing all right. Doing all right.
Do they still qualify for this?
Yeah.
Or is this a title you never lose?
You never lose the small indie company, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. All 3
Can
people
you
who've set
acquire
this
it
up.
later if you don't start with it?
With enough deaths, like within the team, you can get a smaller indie company. Yeah.
I see.
Wow, that's great. This has been a great intro.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd just introduce our guests here a little bit more. Taki Cat is quite known for bringing people in the community together, and
Against their will.
Просто
yes,
пошли
typically
нахер
organizing a
уши.
podcast is
Хуя.
often the case of
Чел, да чё?
Yeah.
You just tie people up upside down, and then, they kind of have to get along to the people they're tied beside.
Yeah. Basically, you spend 5 days
Вырубай
sending
на майн.
emails with no replies, and then you start hitting people.
Что за
and then
бред?
they
Почему
start turning
майн?
up. Yeah.
Господи, как
Well,
меня
they-
затрахало.
Eventually.
That's very effective. Yeah.
But this is the sort of content that keeps the community going, though. Bringing this sort of bringing those people together, kicking and screaming, and having lots of discussions and getting very off track. I was wondering, what's been the thing that gets you guys really amped when you're doing a podcast?
Mostly waiting for Rise to turn up. That always gets me very excited. But I think the one thing which is always interesting about those is you have a lot of people who care very passionately about being the loudest person talking, and then just seeing who can get the most screen time possible. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That means you have the right people. You have the people who are very passionate about their opinions. And Path of Exile is the type of game that kind of fits that. People have more opportunity than just about any other game to be hipster and prove it, right? So you have to expect such things.
You're going to be having a podcast tomorrow, I believe, on the schedule?
No, today at 3 p.m.
Today, there you
Yes.
go. So that's very soon after the announcement. What do you think would be the thing that would blow you guys away and leave you arguing endlessly, screaming at each other live here from ExileCon?
Well, without putting me on the spot, so thank you for that, Ziggy. I think the main thing really is going to be, I'm sure there'll be all different things that we're really excited about. I'm massive for lore, so I'm really hoping we get some really cool new narrative and laws and bosses. Most people won't care about that at all, and they just want to see who's the new guy we're killing or getting killed by.
And what do they drop?
And what do they drop?
More important.
Yes.
О новых мобах и новых боссах.
Kriparian, you're
No,
known
drop
by
it
many
bit,
as the person who got them into the game in the first place, kind of starting things off early in beta, right, and bringing people in with the content, showing off the game and showing what could be achieved with it. And even Chris himself has said that you've had a pretty big impact on the development of the game, in particular like the content cycle, telling them to be
Чеки на
consistent.
заднем плане.
What has been the thing that you felt like you were able to really draw all those people in with? Like, what's that special spark for Path of Exile for you?
Well, I don't think I had to try particularly hard to get people into Path of Exile. I just had to feature the game that I like playing. I mean, for
Грёбаный
Path of
рот
Exile
этого
lore is certainly
Светлакова.
contagious. So, I mean, maybe they did rewrite the history books after playing Path of Exile. That's maybe an option. But no, in all seriousness, it's really amazing coming to New Zealand. The place itself has such a rich history. It's not one that a lot of the rest of the world is exposed to. And having played Path of Exile of all things, right?
Господи, рот
You
шатал
come
просто
here in
этого
New Zealand
слова.
and you see some of the movies that they highlight on the airplane. You come through, you enter, you know, the gates of the airport even, and they have, you know, art from the Maori
Где
people,
унитаз? Да не в
Maui people,
курсе,
and
пацан, у пацана свои дела.
it's incredibly alike what you've seen in Path of Exile. So your interpretation of the things that you experience coming to New Zealand and the culture that they have here is enriched from having played a video game. You know, and it's such an insane experience that I feel like the Path of Exile team is like entitled to like some kind of tourist, you know, bonus or something from the country. I feel like they're like a national treasure here in a way, because while there's so much rich history here, there's very few outlets for exposure, and Path of Exile, you know, being the go-to action RPG actually spreads New Zealand culture around the world, which is an insane thing, and you don't even really realize that until you come here.
Yeah, it's something so many people haven't experienced, and I know for myself, like you said, it's been a bit of a gateway, like seeing that stuff in Path of Exile, and then kind of like seeing the inspirations here from New Zealand, like the Maori art and culture has been really wild, and it's been one of my favorite things here, just like the little snippets of things that I've learned when we've been traveling around. Has there been anything you've really noted in kind of New Zealand that's blown you away? It's your first time here too,
Yeah,
Taki.
so the main thing for me is there's a museum we went to recently, and the obvious things where you go, oh, I've kind of seen that in game before, but when you get to the natural history floor and you see like the skeletons of some of the birds, and you're like, that's a monster I've killed over and over and over again. I can highly recommend everyone checks out natural history museums, because it's a bit different when you see a skeleton like this big in person, and then you've seen like the 20-foot version of it killing you in game, but it's exciting.
Про мобов побольше
Yeah,
всего
for
говорят,
me,
про боссов, мобов,
we
игрок,
went to
типа.
this
Это
beach
такая
recently, and I
конча.
felt like I was on the Twilight Strand. I haven't seen a beach before with like this black kind of rocky sand and random
Про пляж
debris
сейчас
and
говорит
things like that around. I
провокацию.
found a giant driftwood club. I was extremely immersed. It was great. Like I wouldn't be surprised, even like the landscapes and things like that, a lot of the hills and stuff. And I know that like even some minor details, seemingly like the grasses and things like that. And I feel like a lot of that's just lent to the kind of alien feeling for people, because it's things in New Zealand look very different if you've never been here. There's like a
Анонс
complete
должен быть
unique kind of
интересным.
ecosystem and
Должно быть
landscape
клево.
and stuff that even me being from Australia, which is only a few hours away, it's still
Что-то
wildly
показать
different.
должно
So it
интересно.
gives a nice magical kind of appeal to Path of Exile, I think.
It also ties together, you know, people that play these action RPG games. They're like, what sword can I get? What shield can I use? What, you know, barrel helmet can I put on top of this character? But at the same time, Path of Exile does have that, you know, for the people that want to experience that side of things. But a lot of the like weapons, especially the ones that you start with, are, like you mentioned, they're the driftwood clubs. And again, they start resembling some of like the weapons of the culture that they've had here, where they're like, you know, like the shark teeth around, and it's kind of like, you know, a sword, or the more gritty club.
Сейчас про предметы говорится.
It represents more than just what people expect. They have a very strong flavor in the Path of Exile universe, and again, it's not directly highlighted in the culture, but there's all these hints that really captivates you.
You also see this in the character design as well. So if you go to Auckland Zoo, they have this entire exhibit of these bizarre animals called giraffes, and the in-game equivalent for the Templar is a spot-on old man, very long neck. Yeah.
That's true. The authenticity of that is
It's perfect,
wild.
yeah.
Yeah, that blew my mind the first time I saw that. Direct inspiration.
Oh, yes.
You mentioned kind of like the lore and feeling of the universe, and I've been very excited walking around here and seeing that feels like we're going to have a very meaty, thick kind of feeling to whatever's going to be revealed today. I have no idea. None of us have any idea. Specifically, we avoided any spoilers so that we could do like a predictions panel, I guess.
It's not a case where we know everything and then we pretend it's like, I wonder what it will be. We actually know nothing, which is why we're talking here and we can actually guess. But again, I don't feel they've been quite evident. It's not like there's a corner of ExileCon right now where they have this thing that we totally have never seen before and really kind of hits you as new content. I think everyone here at ExileCon is going to be surprised and impressed on what they'll have to deliver in the upcoming content.
I will say, though, there is some concept art floating around on the floor that I think is new, but with concept art, you never really know. There's been a lot of, Ziggy, have we seen this before?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, characters and kind of different takes on characters and stuff, and it's hard to tell if it's like an inspiration for something that will get changed in game, or if it's like a new direction for things. I was definitely having a look at some of those character concept arts upstairs. It's pretty exciting stuff. What's your wildest prediction, Taki, for what we'll see today? I know you've been thinking about it. We said we weren't going to do much predictions, but I know you've been thinking about it.
I think, looking at the merch store with the Celestial Cat socks, there are going to be a lot more cats involved in 4.0. I think this is the cat expansion. That's why they have me here. I'm putting my money on that one. Lots of cats.
It's hard to argue with this.
Exactly.
Yes. I mean, I can't just say that maybe it's not cats, maybe it's puppers.
Да должны быть не только болталки, должны быть анонсы, потому что
I better
интересно
steer the
должно быть.
conversation away from this topic before there's a fight on stage.
I don't know. In my mind, they always impress me. Over the years, we've all seen Path of Exile grow its complexity, grow its reach, grow the number of acts, many times over even in some cases. But it's always kind of a surprise. I'm always left thinking it's like this version of Path of Exile, that's about as well as you can design an action RPG game. And then the next season comes and, you know, they actually improved it in some way. And they've done that, you know, season after season, content patch after content patch, year after year. It's something that we have to remind ourselves. Path of Exile, it didn't come out a few months ago. Path of Exile has been played by many of the people still playing it for years. I played it for the first time. It's been, I think, more than 7 years now. So, I mean, just to think about that is insane. How many games grow from, you know, someone's essentially basement and getting a few friends over and trying to make some kind of game based on their passion, and they invest everything they have into it to a point where it's actually playable, it's an indie game, and it starts growing and catching on because of the actual content year after year, to the point where we're 7 years in, their numbers keep growing up, and now we have Exile Con in New Zealand, right?
That's wild.
It is actually a crazy thing. We see so many great games out there. They come out, they have their moment, and then, you know, a few weeks go by, a few months go by, and everyone but that guy in the bar forgets about them. But Path of Exile's not been that. It's really been something special.
Yeah. I think also, like, with what you said, since we've all been playing, like, 2013 is when I started playing in the beta, and it's a game that's always surprising us. Like, we never thought they'd fix desync. And all the guys back then, remember their /OS, and they fixed desync, and then it's like, oh, maybe they might get rid of one of the difficulties. It'll be like normal, cruel, merciless, and they're like, oh yeah, Act 6, 7, 8, 9.
They had a few fixes for desync back then. I believe one was called Comb's Heart.
That fixed it. That was pretty good. Yes. Just get all the life nodes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very good fix.
I think it was like,
except against Vol Smash.
Yes.
I think it was like 280% life or something characters would aim for back then.
I think the 300 number has been hit by the higher level players, but yeah, this is a time when it wasn't just about getting to max level, because that was somewhat unobtainable. Though we've met Havoc, we've met many of the legends. I'm sure there are some people who couldn't make it to ExileCon, but certainly seeing so many faces from over the years, from players who've contributed to the game or just playing it through that form of contribution, kind of raising the skill bar, the achievement bar year after year. So many of them are here, and it's just been an incredible experience to meet them once again. And they tell me their side of things, tell them mine. I don't know, it's been such a wholesome event for me, but I'm sure I'll forget about all of that once they start doing announcements. Start thinking about my plans in the next 2 months.
Yep, I understand that. Yeah, it's been crazy meeting so many people here, like just so many familiar faces. It all feels so familiar too. That's the weirdest thing. Like, it doesn't feel awkward in a way, because I feel like I've either watched these people or talked to these people or played Path of Exile with these people so many times over the years. But yeah, that's been wild. I was wondering, Crip, you were talking about when you first started playing Path of Exile. I can't actually remember my earliest Path of Exile memory. Like, it's that point. It's like trying to remember when you were a toddler, and you're like, what's my earliest memory? And you're like little scraps. I was wondering, kind of, what's the first thing you remember from Path of Exile?
I remember the first character I made, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I remember the first time I started playing Path of Exile, it was a surreal experience. When I killed the zombie, he dropped a divine orb.
What? You're hooked.
Yes. Well, I didn't know what it was. My question was, is this rare? I ended up making a ranger,
Прикольно.
and I actually had Chris Wilson on the stream when I was playing it. And I don't remember, you know, what I asked at the time, but I remember
Согласен.
having
Не
a
может быть
discussion
такой
about,
херни.
you know, my character. I
Я
was
вот не
feeling pretty
понимаю.
happy with it, and it's like, oh wow, this is so overpowered, because that's kind of how the game sells you, right? It's like, okay, well, wait until the next act. And I remember being quite overconfident in my ranger's ability to survive the game. Being a ranger, I was just getting all the evasion.
Да-да-да, у меня на стриме таких много было, на самом деле.
Naturally.
But 7 years ago, evasion was not really the star of the game. You would evade hits, but once the one started landing on you, your hit points very frequently dropped to the non-existing numbers. So I think I played a ranger to the level 30s or so. And that's when I started playing on hardcore. I played the Ground Slam Marauder.
I recall
Yes, such groundbreaking builds at the time, where you get as much health as possible, and then you use Ground Slam, and see what you do is you link as many support gems as possible to Ground Slam that increase its damage.
So you deal damage to the enemies.
That's
the
correct.
secret tech.
This is the idea.
My first Path of Exile character was equally as successful. I was a Shadow because he looks cool and Shadow sounds cool. I saw the passive skill tree and decided I will take every node which has claws written on it, because claws are also cool.
Actually, back then, I'm not sure if they were that cool.
They weren't. They weren't. The idea was in place. I was like, this will be brilliant. I then had to spend 3 months watching Freeze Pulse Marauder videos to learn how I could get past enemies, because it turns out taking all the claw nodes and nothing else wasn't a good strategy in hardcore back in 2013.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was not.
I had a very similar strategy with the first character I remember. I don't even know if it was.
Я
the
хочу
first.
это вырубить.
It's so scratchy now. It's so long ago, but it was a. I don't even know if it was a shadow.
Они
It might
могли
have been,
просто
but it was
бомжей
a
позвать
lightning
каких-то,
themed character.
которые будут
So I had
беседовать,
Tempest
что они
Shield,
запомнили
I
в
had
посыле
Lightning
в зале.
Strike, and I had Spark, and
И
I would
всё.
rotate usage between those. And naturally, similar strategy to you. I got all of the
Я это
lightning
вырубить
themed
хочу.
things on the passive tree that I could see, and yeah, it went very, very well. I remember being in the early parts of Act 2. I don't think I made it to Val on that character. It was like just when Val was added, I believe.
Vol was insanely hard when he was added. Combined with desync, a lot of the desync back then had to do with your character being stunned, and Vol had that phase where the ceiling starts falling and the rocks start falling. And on normal, they didn't really do any significant damage, but there was 4 difficulty levels back then, not 3. There was normal, cruel, I think ruthless, merciless.
Yep.
Yeah, around Ruthless, things started getting a little sketchy, because those falling rocks would hit you for like half your health, and it wasn't just the health damage. You know, you hit your potion, you're all right. It was the fact that that's when the desync started happening, and then Vol comes back up from the ground, and then it's Vol smash time, and you don't know if your character was quite where you thought it was.
Yeah, Pee-wee's definitely grown a lot since then, but
Yeah.
I do have a very fond memories back in the day of, oh, I've walked into this room and I haven't seen any mobs for 10 seconds. Oh, wait, never mind. And then your character teleports across the screen and instantly gets one shot.
Yeah. But, I mean, these days, they don't have to worry about that. They're also spoiled, right?
Yeah.
They just use abilities and they just kill
They
everything.
work, they
and,
press a button,
and your character
it instantly
is where
yes.
it is, and like who needs health potions even, right? You just use those flasks that increase your damage by 30%, that multiply with each of the other flasks that increase your damage by about 30%. Then you have like a lot of percent.
Блин, это
So
круто,
basically what
чуваки,
we're
ну
saying
покажите
is we're
что-нибудь,
better than
пожалуйста.
everyone else who played recently because we remember when
Клевая
we had to
тема, интересно,
struggle.
смешно. Ну, что-то хотелось бы
But
нового
it's
знать.
true. In the early days of Path of Exile, everything was a struggle.
Может, я старый,
Especially if
хочу
you
просто
played
уже
hardcore
информацию
and
получить,
couldn't, you know,
а не слушать всякие молодежные разговоры.
always increase your item stash over time.
I'm very glad the game has changed since then. Whenever I get too nostalgic, I go back and
Lost
watch
me in the
E-Top spend 30 minutes to kill a crab with ethereal knives and think, you know what? I think modern day Path of Exile's a lot better. It's fun to think back, but I think modern day 30 minutes for a crab, I'm glad things have changed.
Well, it was probably a pretty epic crab, right?
It had a yellow name.
Wow.
Yes.
I do love bringing that video out on stream whenever people get a little bit too nostalgic. Put it on fast forward. It still takes about 20 minutes. It's a classic one.
Well, the main issue back in the earlier days of Path of Exile was the game was so difficult, but at the same time, the complexity was still there. So the opportunity to go through the passive skill tree and the different gem combinations was always there for you to try, and I mean actually try, to be able to take on the game. I think the first really popular build was Spork Totem, because everything killed you instantly, but if you put the totem in the doorway...
Sorry to cut you off, Crip, but I hear that we have a fan coming on stage to meet you.
He's a big fan.
Big fan of Crip.
Welcoming none other than Chris Wilson joining us on stage. Hey, Chris. Good to see you.
Okay,
We'll get
okay.
Chris mic'd up, and then I believe he's just going to mercilessly tease and troll us because, I mean, hey, Chris, are we on?
Can you hear me okay?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we
Things
go.
going?
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Yes!
Ну теперь, наверное, экшен будет.
It's been a long day so far.
And it's only just begun. In 20 minutes, you're going to be up on stage doing the keynote presentation, and obviously
Yeah.
not going to spoil anything for us. So
Oh, maybe some bits and pieces.
Would you like to rehearse it one extra time before
Nice.
it goes live?
Okay, well I start with hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Oh,
and then
I
the
love it.
crowd goes
That's
wild.
great
Не-не-не,
part.
навряд ли.
Yeah.
Угловатый.
It's gonna be
I
good.
actually, when you say that each time, it does kind of bring it back, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Максимум с
how much
пылесосом, которая...
you understand from the audience perspective, but I think so many players who play Path of Exile these days have been doing it for
Играть у
so
меня мозг
long.
большой.
So to hear you introduce
Там было
yourself as they once
интересно.
learned about the game many years ago kind of brings them back into
Я
a
имею в
moment
виду
where
товарища
their
слева.
ears are more open than they can ever be.
Nice. Yeah, that's the plan. It's gonna be a good show though. We put a lot of work into it. It's gonna be awesome.
Ничего ты еврейская.
Okay.
So what do you want to know?
So
Everything. If you just start from the beginning and go towards the
Не,
end.
никакого
So we have
ущемления, я просто
announcements,
тоже
right? We're going to
такой
start
же.
the show with a pile of announcements, more than people expect, hopefully, and that should be a lot of fun. And then we're going to send people on their way to explore the show. There's some awesome stuff lined up. You know, you can play various things we're announcing. We've got a lot of cool content you guys are contributing to. There's people streaming the new gameplay. We've got you know, the racing finals. We have the card game that everyone seems to be hyped about, especially Crip here.
Еще тише.
yes, I flipped over the cards and they say ExileCon card game at the back.
That's right.
But
It's-
ExileCon ends in
Сделал.
like a few days.
And then the
But
card game ends.
what about the people that want to keep playing the ExileCon card game after ExileCon is
We'll
over?
see how it goes. This particular version of it kind of requires being at ExileCon. We have the map device with Zana, played by Zana. We have, you know, it's an actual map device upstairs. We've got a crafting table.
Oh, that's
we
what
have
that was.
Я сам по себе
we have a
выделяюсь.
lot of different
Всё
staff
окей.
members as monsters. I'll talk about it in the keynote, but it kind of requires, you know, 120 people cooperating to run a card game for you guys.
Is that why everyone has terrible items and one transmutation orb?
Oh, they'll get better items. It's like Path of Exile, right? We're going to get some awesome stuff. I saw a headhunter.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
I mean,
no.
Jonathan had it. Maybe you've got to find out how to kill him.
I'll just say quickly.
I only have a transmute orb.
Yeah.
What's my best case with this thing?
You can add a mod to something.
For anyone who isn't at the con who would like some cards, I may or may not have some. If you'd go to my DMs, I'll just take this opportunity to make some extra revenue. It's an inexpensive holiday.
You only have like 4.
4 cards that have been in the same room as Chris,
I
so
see.
they've got that premium, you know.
I heard people were buying extra con tickets to get extra starter cards.
I've heard that.
There are some better cards out there to find from higher level monsters than what you get from the beach, you know?
people farming the beach for those white items.
Well, the beach is a registration tent outside, right?
Yeah.
You stick $180 in, get 5 more starter cards. Thank you, by the way.
I know that from talking to you about this over the past like year or two, Chris, that you've been super excited for this idea of ExileCon. How long has that been an idea for you that you've wanted to do something like
Well,
this?
we posted about it publicly in May of last year, which is surprising. So that's like 18 months ago that we were saying to the public we want to run this. It had been discussed for a few years before, but it was when we really had a specific plan for how we wanted to announce 400 that we had to make a convention around it. We needed to make a big deal about it, and we decided to do it the expensive way, hence a multi-million-dollar convention.
So this was a convention formed around a massive expansion.
Yes.
Rather than the other way around. That's wild.
That's right. We didn't make 400 a few weeks ago just to have some content to show at ExileCon.
Are you saying you've actually prepared for this?
There has been some work. We made a video, you'll see it, and I wrote some slides last night, quite late. I left that VIP dinner early.
Покажите, пожалуйста, видео.
Just last night. Yeah.
Довольно что-то поздно стримишь, да, ситуация такая сейчас. Я предупреждал об этом время на последнем стриме дневном. Еще 3-4 дня так будет где-то. 3 где-то.
How much do you play into the roots of the players that play Path of Exile? Do you kind of see the player base as they are now and try to get the next step of evolution, or do you try to go
Ну
back
такая, что занят я днем.
several
Не до
content
стримов,
cycles or
скажем
several
так.
years back and try to play at the heels of the way people
Привет,
started?
привет,
What
дружище,
do
Александр
you
Кот.
kind of see as the direction options each time you need to add content to the game?
Well, we want to make sure to appeal to both new players and existing players. And for something like ExileCon, we want to make sure to hint at new content. Like, what is this tree? There is no tree in the current
Бро, как попасть на PvP-арену? Ну там типа можно регнуться через кнопочку отдельную, дружище. Там типа... Либо на кнопочку, либо в городе стенд особый с ивентами и PvP-ареной будет, дружище, быстрее. Типа, либо по кнопочке, там кнопку Enter или нажать надо, то или что-то такое. Либо в городе на стенде будет. Ищи, там регаться надо, типа ждешь, и тебя бросают в арену. Но я там ни разу не был, там мне не интересно.
Aside from Celestial Cat Socks, which is obviously the best, what's your favorite piece?
Sense better. Okay. Yeah, I put 10 aside.
10?
Yeah, for myself.
Nice. The little plushies are quite adorable.
What is the functionality behind the Chaos Orb ball? Like, if you throw it at a piece of your older clothing, can you get an improvement?
Nice. Well, people have asked me, what are the RNG benefits of having this Exalted Orb stress ball near your computer? And
it's the Exalted Orb.
Yeah, it is. There's no RNG improvements. You can't improve your clothes. But what happens is when you fail to improve them, when you fail to play Path of Exile successfully, you can relieve your stress by squeezing it. Exactly what it says on the packaging. We would not sell something that made the game better for you.
I don't know. I don't know if people who play Path of Exile read the back of packaging, you know? It's just better to figure it out on the fly.
I spent quite a while of some of my lifespan iterating on the wording on that packaging personally. I want to make sure people read it and appreciate it.
Okay.
Just to let you know, PoE players aren't very good at reading Reflect in particular, so I don't think they'll be reading the back of any cards.
Nice.
I hope you're not thinking of doing anything to that red shirt, Crip.
I still have it around.
Интересно.
Doing something to it.
Нам сегодня покажут что-то интересное или нет?
It really has a very limited life.
Что-то пока что вода.
That's a part of the history as well, I feel.
К сожалению.
Our team respect the shirt you're wearing, by the way.
Oh yes, this is the first. I actually don't remember what it was called. Is the first challenge league?
Yes. Yeah.
Did it have a name, or was it just?
Was that Anarchy and Onslaught maybe? Is the two leagues?
I believe it was.
Halfway through the open beta.
I know it was. I know that the more difficult parts of completing the challenges were finding all the exiles and killing them.
Я спать хочу.
Because, okay. The Righteous Fire
Я
Exile,
тоже
I don't
люблю
remember
воду.
her
Мы
name
все состоим из
exactly
воды.
anymore, but she was really brutally hard back then.
Good.
You would just, if she was on your screen, you went the other direction.
Nice. Brutally hard is something we're trying to get back to Path of Exile. You'll see today.
Okay. And the other achievement was
the
other really difficult part was having each copy of every single unique item in the game. And this is particularly hard on hardcore.
Yep.
Because very few Chevron wrappings and Combs Heart were being found.
Yep.
At the same time, many more of these items were exiting the league day by day.
I understand.
Yes, so
So
it's
you
very hard to
completed the
just have
challenges
one
in
in your
hardcore.
inventory for the purposes of acquiring this T-shirt.
Yep. We actually learned that when you post something, it's possible for the postal workers to rip the package open and steal it because it's marked Path of Exile. We got a letter back from New Zealand Post saying your package was pillaged, which is the word for like a postal worker taking the shirt out in the post. So there's one of those floating around somewhere.
Are these postal workers now legally regarded as pirates?
Nice.
And that's an illegitimate shirt.
Поперечный
I love how this whole
засмеялся.
segment was just about Crypt Flex
Шутка
Easter egg
понравилась.
t-shirts. So.
Yeah. Well, we can't talk about the announcements yet, so we have to talk about something, right?
Zero content.
The challenge leagues are still happening, of course.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is there any kind of goal to try
Не
to
выпустят Тукана?
very few winners at the end?
I think that, I mean, we stopped giving the shirts out a while ago for a variety of reasons, and
Там же звонили.
it's kind of a rite of passage thing where a lot of the
Неплохо,
players feel they should be able to complete the 40 of the challenges. Loosely in the
100 000
future, we are
человек
looking
тоже
at
есть.
trying to improve the system so that there's a bit more challenge behind the challenges, if you know what I mean. Like there's some extra way of completing stuff. I mean, this ties into 100 conversations. There's questions about battle passes, which we're not doing at the moment for various reasons, partly because mixing money with challenges is something that's going to be very sticky. But I do want the challenges to be hard. Like, I want it to be something where people can really aim to have a 3-month goal for the people who are playing a lot of Path of Exile.
Now, in terms of the challenges just themselves, how many people do you want to like complete it? Like you say, you want people to kind of feel that accomplishment, but you personally, how do you
Година
feel
прошла.
challenges should be?
I like the idea that someone who's done everything, there's like 5 or 10 of them in a league, ideally, right? The top 5 or 10 players, we know who they are. They're the people who are getting to 100 first at the moment. I want them to have a lot of stuff to do, and this is something we're definitely talking about in the future. There's a lot more leagues coming out for Path of Exile, especially in the build up to 4.0, so I'd really like to have something that motivates people to play as much as they can and really explore the depths of the new content, because there's often quite rare stuff to find there, and just having it be a challenge completion to see it isn't really as good.
Там школьники пошли. Да, реально математика
Now,
это
I'm
было.
curious for maybe some of the older challenge leagues. What's the fewest completionists you've ever had in one of the challenge leagues? If you know.
I don't have the stats on hand. There are some of them that are certainly harder than others. You can tell because Reddit's angry during those 3-month periods.
Is that when you're kind of relishing?
I don't really relish Reddit anger, no. To be honest, it's a bit of a downer.
But if you want the game to be hard, you want people to be brutally destroyed by the game difficulty. So there's a different angle to that, isn't there?
Well, sometimes you get the ability to make it hard for localized situations, like if you're running a special event.
Там чел в костюме брата
We've
был.
got at ExileCon isn't easy. It's tuned
Этого.
for people like you guys, right?
Саблей
Like we're trying
с
to get
черепом.
a grip, you know, it's gonna
И как он там?
be good. So we may not be able to release it in exactly that state, but we can tune stuff super hard for special events, which is fun.
Okay.
Do you think Reddit will be happy or angry just in general when it comes to the 3.9 and 4.0 announcements?
Or is
They're
there some
gonna be-
kind of combination of these two emotions?
I don't want to jinx it, but I'm very proud of all our announcements. Like, yeah, I think people are going to like them. It's going to be good. We put a lot
Он говорит, будет классно.
all of the 4 trailers were shown.
Он гордится
I
4.0.
mean, they're very different things, right? There's a lot of breadth of Path of Exile being shown today, and people are going to like it. And we're going to show this so soon. Like 10, 15 minutes from now, we're starting a trailer that will hopefully really impress people.
Can I just say we managed to give them, say, 4 trailers, so thank you for that. We're getting some leaks.
More minor spoilers. Getting
Вот там тяжелую
teased
математику.
out. Was there anything you
Преподаешь в
really wanted
комментариях.
to get people, moisten people's expectations a little bit here?
I'm going to answer that question later on today, because I did something that was
Oh.
I mean, look, anything that was posted on Reddit yesterday was not from us. Like, that's not officially, you know, sanctioned stuff that was being talked about. But we did something a while ago, just to planted a clue for the community, and I don't think anyone noticed. I'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay. Well, Chris, I believe you have to run and get this here.
Ну, он прикалывает этот челик.
Some work thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll chat with you guys later on. Enjoy the show.
Forward to seeing you.
Right, good luck, everyone.
See you later.
Что, нам 8 минут еще ждать? Минус уши.
Well,
Просто взял, скинул.
fantastic job of getting us a little closer to the keynote presentation. We have just 8 minutes until that'll be beginning, folks. And I don't know about you guys, but I actually didn't sleep last night. I woke up every half an hour. I would look at the alarm clock every half an hour, and my body was just like, it's ExileCon time. I don't know. Do you guys get any sleep last night?
I had a very thorough 10 minutes.
Nice.
Yes.
Impressive.
Yeah, it was good. good.
I slept more than this, but my excitement for ExileCon has required me to sleep almost not at all coming here to New Zealand.
Yeah, I think
I was so excited on the 24-hour flight. I couldn't sleep at all. No.
Definitely not ideal, but nonetheless, I feel like the adrenaline will carry through 2 days here for us, and it seems like a pretty jam-packed schedule as well. Like, it's back-to-back, and there's like parallel things running as well. So a lot of stuff I believe is going to be released as VODs after the event. So if you're seeing things on the schedule but you're not able to see them on the stream, do not panic. You'll be getting VODs of that a little bit later. Have you had a chance to look at the schedule? Anything you really want to check out? Everything.
Everything, yes.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'm gonna try and hit everything.
I thought it was pretty interesting that Chris was quite understanding of the people who are coming to this event. They try to make the demo as difficult as possible. It's true. I mean, we're in New Zealand. And people that want to be here, they're here, but they really want to be here.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like this is at the doorstep of most of the people that play the game. Path of Exile is a very international game, played everywhere around the world. And they had their first convention in New Zealand, which is
Иди спать, мой
not
свет.
exactly not close to anything, but pretty
Slightly
close.
far away.
Yes.
Что-то вода
The
водой.
next stop is Antarctica.
6 минут ждать ради какого-то трейлера, который ты завтра
There's
можешь
not much else
посмотреть.
down that way. But yeah,
Если
that's
спать
it. Like,
хочется, то иди спать.
it's a
Здоровье
screening
важнее.
process, effectively, of people who really, really want to go. And yeah, usually at events like the demos are toned down for kind of like to make sure journalists can get in and be pretty comfortable with the game they may not be familiar with. But everyone here is at least fairly familiar with the game.
Yep. I also think you need to respect the fact that this is all being streamed for free. They're not charging any tickets for it. It's all going for free on the YouTube, and also that they're letting everyone restream it, because a lot of companies aren't as kind when it comes to that. So they're definitely helping the community a lot with this one.
Now, for me, the biggest announcement I think Path of Exile has ever had in terms of like blowing me away was when they started talking about the new acts that
таким?
they're adding to the game.
Хорошо.
Because previous to that, they would have like a big announcement every, I think it was every year-ish and some change. Guys were adding a new act, but this act is going to be a little bit better than the last one. But then when it came to like, what was it? Is it Act 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is still going, right? The announcement's still going, and they're still talking about new crazy stuff I couldn't believe. So I wonder if they can top that, you know?
I think they'll try. I think they'll try.
Of course they're going to try. I don't think there ever is like, yeah, guys, we're over the hill
Неплохо.
now.
That would be a very good opening. Hi guys, Chris here. This will be a very disappointing announcement compared to 3.0.
We're pretty much done. We're tapped out. I'm out of ideas. Yeah, I remember being shown that trailer for the first time of the 5 new acts. I was actually like in the office at the time, and it was a little bit early. I know, streamer privilege, but Chris has a habit of trolling me a lot with announcements and giving me fake announcements and feeding me false information. I don't know. Maybe he still doesn't trust me or something, but
I wouldn't.
no, I wouldn't. Look at me. But it went the first act, and I'm like, oh, new act, sick. And then it went another one. I'm like, okay. And then it went bam, 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 bam. The next like 3 acts. I'm like, you trolling me? And now Chris has said that this is going to be bigger
Да
than
тут
that,
ничего
so
интересного, тут
I
типа
don't
вода на
imagine we're
воде.
getting 5 more acts.
Забудь.
That would
5 more.
25.
Yeah, at least
Можно
6 more.
напоследок
Yeah,
только
no,
так
it's
сделать.
Multiply it. You
right?
multiply it.
Hype inflation.
Ну
yeah,
только...
exactly. So like 18 more acts, like 36 more acts, something like that. So I mean, that's the
Okay.
only thing that would be reasonable. Otherwise, I'm going to be extremely disappointed.
Можно так вот сделать, сидеть и все.
Like try not to say something that they possibly can't meet. I believe we have like just a moment until it's actually beginning. Everything's gone quiet. Everyone's gone. There was people around. Now they're all gone.
Oh
What
yeah,
happened?
we must be missing out on something.
Yeah, I don't know. Should we like go see what's up over there?
Well, probably waiting around and watching an empty stage is more entertaining than us. So
Yeah,
Probably.
I agree with that. And on that note, I think I'll thank Taki and Kriparian for joining me. I'm Ziggy D, and we'll be back a little bit after to ramble for a little while longer. But we'll actually have content then because we'll have seen things that we can discuss. So.
I hear applause.
Oh, it's beginning. And fade out.
Это эти зрители, слышал, на фоне были? Ждут анонса. О, народ на фоне. Это сказка на ночь, согласен. Рассказали, интересно так стало. Жить захотелось. Ничего пока не интересного. Там тебя слышно? Не, меня не слышно. Мне чистер в первую очередь. О, чистер проснулся. Все, это было слышно. Мне не так сильно слышно, потому что я жду 4:0, не 3:9. Какие-то обезьяны орут. Когда будет вот этот отчет до выхода 4:0, я буду орать как псина. На дереве по вокзала, где скиллпоинты все. Дерево большое, все поместятся, думаю. Сука, и звуки прикольные. Это уже, кажется, недовольные плачем. Че думаешь, новый микро надо, чи не? Я хочу новый микро себе купить. На него собираю еще бабло. Как тут найти? Я обновлю, чё. Ну, не. Но может быть, если Кастику зайдет, там скажет, иди обновляй пока и закинет мне 20 рублей. Тогда пойду. Ох, мясо пошло. Давай.
That look in your eyes, I recognize it. Survivors, just like Aina. That is my name, exiles. Aina Frey, which means lone fighter. For a long time, I've searched for a worthy companion, a hunter as fierce and strong and handsome as Aina. I walked the plains of Vastery and found
Ясно,
no
новая
one
лига про Инара, все
worthy.
неинтересно,
I
закрываю.
delved into the Azurite mines, even though my best friend Nico begged me not to. I found many crunchy bugs, but still no hunter. Then I decided there was only one place left to search. The land of New Zealand!
Ленту в чём? Пожилой Ника. Пожилой Эйнар вышел. Бородатый с сединой.
Oh, this is not the menagerie. Aina must have taken a wrong turn on the path of exile. I make a joke. You like it? I know where I am. Do you? Do you? Do you? I know because Aina knows. Welcome to ExileCon 2019!
Тип похлопал. Да там компьютер споет. Я видел. Да что ты орешь, дед? Иди самогонку гони. Да, согласен, рофляный.
What was I going to say? I have come a... Oh, yes, we have people here from all over the planet, yes? Yes? Very brave to come here all this way. But don't worry, here we have at ExileCon shelter, food, and weapons. I hope you bring your weapons, huh?
Да, все с ножами пришли.
I brought mine. Come, come, Shadow, come, come.
Чё там, лагучая оптимизация?
This is my shadow.
А,
He
не,
goes everywhere with me.
арбалет.
Now, do we have any beasts in the building? Oh, there's one. I said, do we have any beasts in the building? Oh, yes, I hear you well
Неплохо.
now. I not can hear.
Очень неплохо.
Beast friends, you know what I like to do with a beast? I like to hunt them and kill them with my bare claws. Well, they're not really bare claws, but you know, if I can't kill them with my bare claws, you know, I like to use my crossbow.
Microsbow.
I prefer to call it my happy bow.
Как он его выделяет
You
так?
see, come, Shadow, come. This is how it works. When I'm hunting, first of all, if I'm going for a big beast, like this one here,
Он что, сейчас стрелять по публике будет? Это что за Колумбайн?
he looks like a big beast. Stand up, beast. Not you, the big one next to you. You are too skinny. You will make a good carcass, yeah? Very useful. Don't worry, we use all the pieces of the animal, like grinding gears using all the pieces for the game. Big beast, stand up.
Ну, пришел на экзалкон, получил КВН.
No, she.
Окей.
Welcome, no, she. Put your hands up so I can aim straight. No, put your hands up. Did I say put them down?
Светлаков скоро
I tell you when to
выбежит?
put your hands down.
У него должен быть
When
тот
I'm
номер.
hunting a big beast like Noshi, I have to tread very carefully. I'm stalking now. I'm not talking, I'm stalking.
I'm not talking, I'm
And then I take
talking.
aim, generally in Oshi's direction. And boom! He's captured. You can sit down now.
А сетку на него кинуть, мудила.
When I'm going for a slightly smaller beast, I have to... Yes, you can stand up now, smaller beast.
Неплохо было.
Yes. What is your name? Very exotic name. So when I'm aiming for a smaller beast, like what? Jason? Okay. When I'm going to take a shot, Jason here, I have to aim more carefully, like this. I'm lining up my shot, and boom! He's been captured. Good, yeah. Aina is very good. Shadow, where are you? You can take it away. Because when I'm hunting little tiny insects, I can't use my crossbow, can I? So I have to stamp on them.
Ну,
It's funny, no? Yes, funny. So if I'm
это not funny,
if I'm
чувак.
stamping on them,
М,
I have to stamp a few times because one little insect is not very nutritious, is it? So I have lots of insects. I pick them up, I eat them. Very nutritious. Very good. So today, I have come from very far away to be here at ExileCon. Yes. Do you know how many beasts I had to sacrifice to get here today, just to get the portal open? I lost count at 50 beasts, and I will have to sacrifice 50 more just to get back to my menagerie. But don't worry, because here today, you are, well, we are here all weekend. All of us here to celebrate. All of us here to celebrate. You are going to get a chance to meet the originals. The first ones from Grinding Gear Games. Don't worry, they are not going to bite you like the first ones Aina is used to. Don't worry. They are very friendly beasts. You are going to get to talk to them, and they are going to talk to you. It's going to be great.
Хочу такие же тапки, как у него.
This convention is here for Aina to meet all his friends and talk about all his achievements. But this is not Einacon. This is ExileCon!
Неплохо, очень неплохо было. Ну ладно, пару шуток годных было. Все.
Now, if this was
Okay.
Einacon, things would be very different. The main event would be sacrifice by combat. Yes, I'm coming to you two. Yes, 2 lucky survivors here. Are you married? Oh, then this should be very easy for you. Because when you are married, you will find a lot of fighting going on. A lot of... And you know, very, very easy. So don't worry. Things are only going to get worse.
Окей.
Sacrifice
Неплохо.
by combat. I like that. If this was... listen, we also, I have to say, out there on one of the stages, we have streamers.
О, нет.
Do you know what streamers is?
Только не нас.
Yeah? If this was Einacon, we would just have lots of blood and goo and snot and everything just pouring off the stage all over you, married people. You like that, huh? We can see who has the biggest bloodstream. It will be good. Oh, I like your hair. It's very nice, Beast. The only problem is he can't see behind you now. You can see. I like it. You have to tell me what you're doing with your hair. So, we are going to have streamers. This is not really what it is. Streamers is where you have another stage out there, and you will be able to talk and speak, talk and meet, more talk, more meat, more talk. Meat.
Окей, банальная шутка.
I am hungry. I didn't have my breakfast this morning. Meat. No. This is what it is, streamers. Now, the other thing you will be able to do today in ExileCon, you will be able to buy many, many things. Many, many things, you lucky people, that is exclusive here to ExileCon. Let me show. Oh, no, save it. This one is very rare. This is an albino rower. Very rare. Here is a little beastie here. It's a baby rower. Very cute, yes? No, it grows into a huge monster and will eat
Кинул
you.
бы в толпу, было бы классно, типа.
This one is for you,
А,
Samuel.
кинул, да, красавчик. Топ-10 предугадываний на стриме.
He's captured. He's captured. Here we have another beast. This is a sand spitter. I think they call it. Yeah, sand spitter. I think I used to date one. No. I think I used to eat one. Yeah, that's it. I now make funny. This one's for you. Oh yeah. And this one here for you two because you're lovers.
Ну прикольно, окей. Да,
Give
прикольно.
it to them. And one over here. Oh, very good catching. But this is my baby. This is very rare. It's a little albino for my new friend down here. So today we are going to have, there are announcements to be made. You have to listen out because I have been told by the first ones there are going to be announcements, there are going to be games you can play. So you have to listen, and Aina has been told to say this. I do not know what it means, but this is what I've been told. Aina was also told to prepare a long talk. Yes. This is better, I think, you know. A long talk is boring. Aina is only used to talking to beasts in the menagerie, and they do not listen good. So, a little poetry. Thank you. What is your name? Thank you, Russell, for putting me on the spot. I love to hunt.
Ладно,
I
лучше тише
love
сделать.
to smile.
Ну это
But most
затянулось.
of all,
Это
I
затянулось.
love you, exile.
Ну клево, но это затянуто уже.
But more than that, I love to hunt. Now, I'm going to make a special announcement now. Do not do what the rower do, okay? Do not do your toilet all over the floor and all over the table.
Come on, чувак.
All right? There is defecation houses just through into the foyer.
Come on.
Please use that. The other thing, of course, is if there is a fire, please make your way to the nearest safe exit. You will look around, you'll find your nearest exit. Make your way very carefully, very quietly. And if you do want to light a fire, be quiet about it. Now, I think this is all I have to say. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you now to 3 of my best friends. They are more beautiful and they smell better than the beasts in the menagerie, except on patch days. They are the reason Aina exists. We wouldn't be here without them. Please put your claws together for the 3 founding fathers of Grinding Gear Games, Path of Exile. Please welcome Chris, Jonathan, and Eric!
All right. Boy.
Love you too. Hi everyone, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games, неплохо. Посылка.
And welcome to ExileCon. This is Eric, our creative director, and of course, he's responsible for all of the scary shit that you've seen and are gonna see. And this is Jonathan, our technical director. How are you feeling?
Everyone, it's pretty scary up here, honestly. You know, like there's a ton of people in the audience, ton of people online. It's
Yeah, there's 6 digits watching on Twitch,
Yep.
plus everywhere else, and there's a lot of people out there. Well, it's honestly really amazing that all you guys could join us here in New Zealand. We understand it's really far away from everywhere else in the world. I think like a 12-hour flight to anywhere except for Australia. Hopefully more than a few of you are doing really fun activities in New Zealand, like visiting Hobbiton. That's really good, worth checking out. So we've been preparing the content you're going to see this weekend for a really long time, many years. And after so many years of planning, it's amazing to finally be here on stage to present it. Thank you so much for coming to see it in person, and thanks to everyone who tuned in from home to watch the live stream. So when we released Path of Exile 1.0 back in 2013, we had around 20 developers at Grinding Gear Games. They fit in one room. That version of the game only went up to Act 3. It was primitive by today's standards, and was the first version of Path of Exile that we were proud enough to call fully released. We knew that to keep the game from getting stale, we had to do something really big every couple of years, in addition to the regular free content expansions.
Он там экстаз
So
поймал.
by 2015, our studio had around 45 developers, moved into its current office, and this allowed us to create an entirely new act of content for version 2.0, extending the length of Path of Exile's storyline by a third. While 2.0 was a big expansion, we knew the jump to hit 3.0 had to be a lot bigger. So we expanded the studio to 90 developers and were able to add 6 new acts of content in 2017. That was honestly one of the best moments of my life. After keeping the secret that we were adding 6 new acts, there weren't any leaks, we released a trailer that kept revealing new acts in sequence, and the reactions from the community were amazing. It just made all the hard work worthwhile. So since then, we've been asking ourselves the question, how are we possibly going to top that? Well, over the last 2 years, we've expanded up to 145 developers, and we're really proud to finally reveal Path of Exile 4.0.
The gods are dead, but left on their own, men will always seek to take their place.
Criminals! Your sentence is to be hanged from the neck until dead.
А, это показывает этот Экзайл Кон.
And your bodies
А,
feed
нет,
the land.
показалось.
The only result is pain and death.
Kill her!
Get them.
Чего? Вы что, угораете? Это по Е вообще? Почему мне Диабло показывает?
Only 20 years since Kitava fell, and already corruption spreads like a plague through these shattered lands. Wretched malevolence lurks in the shadows. It is our calling to put it to an end. It must be done if Rayclass is to survive.
Чего? Что? Какой нахер оборотень? Чего?
Well, that feels amazing.
Согласен.
Thank you. Path of Exile 2 is a storyline set 20 years after the defeat of Kitava. When we finished developing 3.0, we knew that we couldn't extend Path of Exile's campaign forever. Adding more acts would make the game just too long before players got to maps. At the same time, we knew we really needed to bring the quality of Path of Exile's campaign up to a 2019 standard. We realized that we needed to make a new campaign. For years now, we've been wanting to make a sequel to Path of Exile. The problem with that, though, is that sequels split a community between two products. It's also hard for a sequel to compete with the amount of content and features that the original game has. We've just spent 6 years making expansions for Path of Exile, so imagine if we released a Path of Exile 2 and it was just a bare campaign with none of that extra content. This would be a sad shell of an action RPG compared to the current state of Path of Exile. It'd have none of the years of expansion content and improvements that make the game great. So we're creating Path of Exile 2 as a new campaign alongside Path of Exile 1 with a shared endgame. The original campaign is still fully playable, and because it's the same game, it'll still continue to be maintained with all of the updates and game system improvements that we'll make to Path of Exile. When we add new skills to the game, you'll be able to play with them in either the Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2 campaign, and all of the microtransactions and stash tabs that you've purchased in the past will be fully usable regardless of which campaign that you're playing.
Что?
Most importantly, all of your favorite Path of Exile expansion content like Delve, Breach, Incursion, and Legion will be fully integrated. At the same time, we wanted the freedom to make all of the changes that a true sequel requires, like changing the skill system, all of the ascendancy classes, improving the engine, and a lot of other things that we aren't announcing this weekend. Path of Exile 2 addresses all of the things that we feel are deficiencies in Path of Exile 1. We're not abandoning the Path of Exile 1 campaign, though. Not only is it still fully supported in Path of Exile 4.0, we're doing a lot of work to get it up to a 2019 standard. Here's what Act 1 Town looks like in 3.9, which we're releasing in 4 weeks. We're also going through the campaign and we're improving materials to work with our new physically based rendering pipeline. Over the next year, you're going to see a lot of improvements to the Path of Exile 1 campaign, which will be deployed ahead of 4.0 with a 3.9 series of patches. We're also re-rigging all the old character classes to work with the new 4.0 animations, so you'll get all of the ongoing animation improvements in the old Path of Exile 1 campaign as well. In the next year, we're going to continue to deliver 4 amazing leagues on a regular 3-month cycle. All of this content is designed with the Path of Exile 2 campaign in mind, and we'll continue to fold it into the game as needed, like we would with any other league. We don't have a firm release date for Path of Exile 2 yet, and are absolutely going to wait until it's ready before releasing it. We're planning on waiting at least another year with 3.9 expansions before the beta of 4.0 though. So, I'm sure you're wanting to see some 4.0 gameplay. We've prepared a live demo for you. Everything ready, Jonathan?
Everything's ready.
All right, let's go. So, today Jonathan's going to do a short live demo of some of the content we have in this build of Path of Exile 2. This is played right live, like he's literally playing right there. We're starting here at about level 11, which is about halfway through Act 1, and because we want everyone seeing the playable demo of on the show floor to be able to experience the start of Act 1 without having any of the surprises spoiled for you. So right away, as Jonathan plays through the graveyard, you'll notice the massive improvements we've made to the Path of Exile engine since 3.0 was released. Environments, characters, and items all use physically based rendering, which gives the whole game a realistic look. We have new main character class models with all new animations and completely new item base types. Most of these have physics for many of the little details which look a lot more awesome than before. We've put a lot of work into updating skill effects. For example, when you fire a split arrow, you'll really feel the individual arrows because they can stick in objects and they can bounce off others realistically.
Охренеть.
Oh, this looks so good. Slight spoiler, but that support gem he's using turns any skill into a barrage. Any bow skill. So, the 4.0 campaign contains a variety of optional side quests that lead to meaningful boss encounters. Relatively soon now, Jonathan's going to encounter an NPC called Lachlan who has lost his family and needs help.
Family, where are they? Isabel and the boys were only to be gone for a few minutes, but it has been, I don't even know how long. Hours at least. Days, weeks. What season is it? Stranger, I know we have just met, but I'm so worried about them. Around here, they could have fallen into a sinkhole or been choked by grave dust. Please, could you see to their safety?
The game has changed a lot more than just visually, though. One of the things we've really wanted to do for a long time is to make fundamental changes to Path of Exile's skill system. The skill system in PoE is really cool and versatile. Personally, it's one of my favorite things about the game, but there have always been some awkward things about it. We really wanted to find a way to address all of the shortcomings while not sacrificing even a single bit of the functionality that we already have. So, you can see in the inventory here, there's something missing. All of the sockets on the items. This is because in Path of Exile 2, you no longer put gems into your items. Instead, the skill gems themselves have sockets, as you can see here, and there is a dedicated screen for socketing them. Jonathan's going to change his split arrow skill for Ice Shot and add some support gems to it. There are some really big advantages here. For one, every single skill gem in Path of Exile 2 can be a 6-link. This is going to cause huge changes in how players design character builds. In the past, players didn't want to have more than one primary attack skill because you could only have 1 or 2 6-links on your character. Now it's totally viable to have a lot of powerful primary attack skills with full support gems. The thing I'm really happy about, though, is you don't have to screw around with your gems all the time when you're leveling. Check out this bow here. The socket colors are the same between the two bows. They're both 4 green sockets, like every other bow in the game. And this means that when you find a new item, you just slap it on. You don't have to think about getting fusings and jewelers out because you do that on the gems themselves. As we swap between the bows as well...
Куда фузы денутся? Куда все информатики денутся? Ой-ой-ой, не понимаю.
And for clarity, this means that in-game, when you're trying to roll your perfect item, you can focus on the mods and separately on the sockets and the skills. So you'll see here as Jonathan swaps the bows, the DPS values for all your skills updated at a glance, and that's because we've completely changed how the character screen works and so on. Jonathan will go into more detail later today about that. So it's still possible to fine-tune socket colors on items if you need to, but because everything that drops has fixed sockets, it's way easier to just pick something up and put it on while you're leveling. For new players, another really great advantage is it's now impossible to socket a support gem into a skill gem it doesn't work with. For example, multiple projectiles here just can't go into Leap Slam, but as you can see, it works on the other bow skills. So you might be wondering about skills like auras. A lot of the time in the old skill system, you would throw a few gems together in a 4-link with few or no support gems. How can you do that when you have such a limited number of active skill slots now? The answer is meta gems. Meta gems are like super support gems. They let you put multiple actives into them. For example, we want to run a few different auras on this character, so we put the proficiency gem into the character and load it up full of auras. It even gives you a single keybind you can use to cast all of the auras with one click. Come on. Trigger gems like cast on crit are also meta gems, so this means you can put an entire cast on crit setup in one gem as one of your 8 6 links you can now have. There is a huge amount more to talk about with what meta gems allow you to do with Path of Excel's skill system, and Jonathan will be going into all of it in the PoE 2 gameplay deep dive later today. He'll cover how all the existing Path of Excel things work in Path of Excel 2, as well as introducing a whole lot of new stuff. That is a talk not to miss. Oh, and I should add, the supports you're seeing here for the bow skills, they're 3.9 content, so you'll get to see that much, much sooner. And that's something I want to emphasize. While Path of Excel 4.0, sorry, Path of Excel 2, as we're now calling the campaign, is still quite far away, we are getting as much of the content in as early as we can, apart from the campaign itself. So you'll get to play most of the new stuff we're doing quite a lot earlier. It's the campaign and the skill system that are being rolled out on launch day. So one of the things we really wanted to improve on Path of Excel 2 was our lighting system. The new PBR rendering, in addition to a much more realistic light fall-off, makes this area look significantly better than we could possibly achieve in the past. So you can see here there are some monsters called courtesans who can explode the blood cretins. When blood cretins are covered in blood, they get a lot stronger, so you have to be careful. We've tried very hard to design very interesting monster fights, starting as early as Act 1 of the new campaign.
This area generated much longer than it usually did in every other demo we did.
Yeah, but that's actually a feature that we're proud of. We have put a lot of work into make sure there's even more randomization on our random areas. I know racers will hate to hear that because they can't memorize the layouts, but we want it to be very, very hard to find your way around. And there's a talk that Reese is doing later, I think it's tomorrow morning, where we're talking about topics like world generation and stuff like that, rather than just level generation. You'll see what he has to say, but it's pretty interesting.
Happen on the stage demo.
We have to give you an authentic Path of Excel experience involving some backtracking.
I've got a Quicksilver, so we're all right. Here we go.
Oh, this run-through is going a lot better than some of the rehearsals we did. It turns out some of the monsters hit pretty hard if you're not good at it, so. What's that, sorry? Yeah, you gotta level your gems up, Jonathan.
Oh, it's terrible.
So this is XLCon plays PoE. Okay, should he go left or right? Awesome.
Please make them stop. They're whispering. They're screaming. No, don't give in. You're not dead. You're still moving. You're still here.
Да, это жестко.
So, one of the things that's really exciting about creating an entirely new campaign is that we get to the first few acts of the original Path of Exile have bosses that are some of the earliest content we ever made, and their age is really showing. For comparison, this fight here is at the same level as Fairgraves in the original campaign, but as you can see, it's a lot more advanced with a lot more going on.
Learn to let go of your burdens.
new level up animation. So here we are in Einhar's favorite place, the hunting grounds. Now, we're ready to show you something that players have been requesting for a really long time. You've seen it, in Path of Exile 2, we finally have shapeshifting.
О, да.
So, each shapeshift form can use any regular Path of Exile 2 attack. That makes sense. Here on the Werewolf, for example, we're using Leap, Slam, and Cleave. And one of the things that we thought was really important with shapeshifting is that you can change back and forth at literally any time, mid-animation, walking around in the middle of a skill, whatever, just hit the button and change forms. So one of the things that we're really proud of is the new grass technology we have. It's done using pre-computed ray tracing and is way nicer looking and has much better performance than what we used before. Got some friends there?
Да, бои с боссами затяжные, конечно. Ой, прям очень затяжные.
So, that right there is a small slice of Path of Exile 2.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. So, almost the entirety of Act 1 of Path of Exile 2 is complete and playable today on the show floor. It's not just those areas, it starts right on the riverbanks at the beginning, like you saw in the trailer, play all the way through, that summer in the middle. If you can make it in the 45-minute timer, just keep playing, see if you can get to the axe boss that isn't done yet, we'll see. Please check it out and let us know what you think. You can play it on the bottom floor of the convention or on the top floor on one of the 120 Omen gaming PCs generously provided by HP. It's a logo. So, as I said, the demo on the show floor is played right from the start of Act 1. It has quite a lot of different content than what you just watched. If you're watching from home, the best way to see this demo, because you can't play it unfortunately, is to watch one of the streamers who's going to be playing the demo throughout the weekend. The first of these is at noon in New Zealand time in 90 minutes when Kriparian plays while chatting with Jonathan. So, some systems in Path of Exile 2 are not ready to announce yet, and so they're not present in today's demo. The first thing a lot of you are doing is hitting P to see the passive skill screen. Surprise, it's just the same as the in development 3.9.0 for now. That's because we'll work out what we're doing at the passive skill screen, blow your socks off with that, and then announce that at some stage before release. So in around 3.5 hours at 2 p.m., Jonathan's going to present a deep dive into some of Path of Exile's 2 new game mechanics. A closer look at the new skill system, meta gems, 19 new ascendancy classes, and more. So, you definitely need to be here at 2 p.m. to watch that, but conveniently, it's after my 1 p.m. deep dive about 3.9.0, which is equally good, so just, you're here for the afternoon, basically, and if you're watching from home, I'm sorry if you live in Europe right now. So, we've just announced how we're making huge changes to Path of Exile's campaign in 4.0. How about the endgame? Well, it's been 2 years since we launched War for the Atlas, which was our last substantial endgame-focused expansion. So we feel it's high time for some big changes. What we'd like to show you now is what's coming in Path of Exile 3.9, which will be released in 1 month.
Listen carefully, for this is important. I worked with a group of exiles once, much like yourselves. Together, we faced a terrible evil that plagued the Atlas and threatened our world. Through great perseverance, we were able to defeat the Elder. But it wasn't enough. They kept going back. Over and over, again and again. There was something inside them that could never be satisfied. They sought more power, more prestige. They sought to rule and conquer those strange lands. Each time they returned, I feared more and more what they were becoming. So I did what I thought was right. I sealed them in the Atlas. Forever. They found a way back.
Да ладно.
Path of Exile, Conquerors of the Atlas is an expansion with a new endgame Atlas storyline set after the defeat of the Elder. The exiles who defeated him have become a danger to Rayclast, so Zana has attempted to trap them in the Atlas. I guess there's only so much grinding you can do before you go insane, eh? From what we can see, Havoc and Steel Mage are both pretty close to that point right now. So when you first open the Atlas in 3.9, it's going to look significantly different. First of all, you notice you now start in the center of the Atlas. But the much larger change is there are only 91 maps to start with. In order to unlock the rest, you're going to need to find and defeat the Conquerors to take back Watchstones and socket them into the Atlas. Socketing one of these Watchstones into a region of the Atlas will both level up the tier of maps and reveal new maps. You can socket up to 4 watchstones into each region, revealing all the maps and eventually raising the level of the entire atlas so that every map is between tier 14 and 16 if you want. Because you can socket and unsocket these watchstones whenever you like, you can completely customize which maps you're finding on the fly as your strategy changes. Yep, it's amazing. You're gonna fight 4 of the Conquerors many times as you play through the new Atlas. These are challenging fights, so it's only fitting that they have some special rewards. If you're lucky, a Conqueror might drop a new type of support gem that we're calling a Support Gem Plus. These new gems are better versions of existing supports, which at level 1 are more powerful than the level 20 versions of the ones they replace. So this has an additional fork compared to the normal one, for example. Okay, there's plenty more stuff to discuss about Conquerors of the Atlas. For example, how do you get these cool new currency items? We'll go into more detail about this, along with the Support Gem Plus system, the final boss fight, what's replacing Shaper and Elder Rares, new skill and support gems introduced in 3.9, and more in the deep dive presentation later today. Like every other Path of Exile expansion, Conquerors of the Atlas also contains a new challenge league, and we have a trailer of that league to show you.
Take a clean knife and cut a sample of flesh. Repeat 4 times. Mix the 5 samples in an equiphometic solution. Heat. Stand back. The intrinsic darkness will make itself known. Observe its anger, its aggression. Observe its changing form. It's never comfortable to stay in one shape for long. It will try to kill you. Best not let it. Plunge the clean knife repeatedly. Try more heat. More! Perfect. Only every living creature to go.
Да, это жестко. Даже комментариев нету.
In the Metamorph Challenge League, you will find and collect samples from some of the monsters you kill. Tane Octavius will let you combine multiple samples of monsters together to create a shape-shifting metamorph whose skills are derived from the monsters you combined. Defeating the metamorph will yield many rewards, including new currency items called catalysts that let you add various types of special quality modifiers to your jewelry. These quality modifiers both improve specific types of mods on your jewelry and also make it easier to craft associated mods. At the end game, multiple map bosses can be combined to create a single, highly dangerous but rewarding metamorph. I'll be doing a deep dive into both the Conquerors of the Atlas expansion and the Metamorph League that comes with it at 1 o'clock today in just over 2 hours. We'll of course be live streaming this. So, for a year we've had a few developers working on a bit of an experimental skunkworks project at the studio. Let's watch a video about it.
So mobile games are kind of bullshit, right? You know, pay to win microtransactions, time gates, energy bars, random nag screens, notifications, video ads. You know, you get the idea. There's really a lot of evil garbage going on in mobile games today. But in 2012, when we first released Path of Exile on PC, you really could have said the same thing about a lot of free-to-play games there too.
So this is what it looks like. There are 8 skill binds, 5 flasks, the same gear you'd expect to see on any Path of Exile game. One of the major benefits of this project was the tech we've developed. It's allowing us to improve our tools and engine and system across the board for all platforms. Our goal is to bring Path of Exile to mobile with absolutely zero compromise.
We wanted to make something that is a real Path of Exile game. We didn't just farm it out to an external studio. It's developed entirely by a team here in New Zealand. The only thing that's fundamentally different between phone games and PC games is that you expect to play for shorter game sessions on a phone. Maps are a perfect length to have the quick turnaround time required for mobile gameplay while retaining all of the deep systems that Path of Exile players expect.
Back then, we really felt like we could do free-to-play on PC without all that player-hostile stuff. So we thought, you know, maybe we can do the same thing on mobile. Maybe we can make a game that bucks all those bullshit trends and make it something that's a good game first, that just so happens to be played on the phone.
So needless to say, around a year ago, it became real difficult to announce that. But we figured if we make a sequel and give you that first. So, look, the mobile project is really experimental. We haven't really fully decided where we want to go with it yet, but we welcome feedback, and our plan is basically have it at the show floor. It's upstairs in the chill-out zone, which is secretly a mobile zone all along, and it's marked as a chill-out zone on the map to fool you. And play the game, let us know what you think. And on a personal note, this isn't scripted, this part. So on a personal note, I was apprehensive about this project, right? Like, I was unsure we'd be able to do it, but playing the build this week, it's good. It runs fast, it plays well, give it a shot. Let the actual demo do the talking. We're gonna get Ziggy to play it with Trevor, the mobile fall guy, later in one of the stream sessions. So we'll see his actual legitimate reactions, and let's make it a good product together, because we all want to be able to have something fun to do on phones when we're on the bus and stuff, so give us your feedback, we'll make this what you need it to be. All right. So, one of the great things about porting Path of Exile to iPhone, and of course Android, is that we can easily create a version that runs on macOS. So next year we'll be releasing Path of Exile on macOS alongside 3.10, 3.11. Now, this is going to be the same version as the PC version. It plays on the same servers, it's the same game, not segregated. It's just that you play it on your Mac, so you can play it at work. So, I'm also pleased to announce Path of Exile's third collaboration with Twitch Prime. Just before the release of Conquerors of the Atlas next month, we'll be launching a 3-month promotion where Twitch Prime members receive a free set of microtransactions every month. You can receive a free 1-month trial of Twitch Prime, of course, to try it out and receive free microtransactions on Path of Exile and other participating games. So, you may have looked in your swag bag and found a box with some cards in it. At ExileCon, we really wanted players to interact with our staff, so we came up with a game that has a few social elements. Think of it as a card game action RPG that you can only play at ExileCon. So all of the GGG staff members will be walking around ExileCon as monsters. On their t-shirts, you can see their stats, and in the deck boxes, you'll have weapons and armor you can use to defeat the monsters. So when you kill them, and please don't actually kill them, you'll be rewarded with more cards as drops. Your character can have equipped 1 armor, 1 weapon, and a shield, or a 2-hand weapon, just like the game, as well as an amulet and 2 rings. The damage on your weapon has to be equal to or larger than the defense on the monster, and the defense on the armor and shield has to be equal to or larger than the attack on the monster. Your rings and amulets can count as either attack or defense, and they're pretty rare to find. This is explained on the rules, and of course ask any staff members if you need help. To attack a monster, just walk up to a staff member wearing a shirt and show them the equipment you want to use. They'll give you the reward and remove some of the durability from your items, so make sure you don't waste your best items on the trash mobs on the lower level. Now, I should note, the staff have been told what rules to individually use for durability damage, so if they totally wreck one of your best items, that's because their instructions say that that monster wrecks your best items. So it's not their fault, don't get angry at them. So, what's next? Right, you're not allowed to attack the same monster twice in a row, so keep walking around to encounter different staff members. Once you've defeated Katava, then you can start grinding maps. Zana, played by her actual voice actress, is over by the map device on the middle floor where you can buy some maps. Make sure you visit the crafting bench on the top floor if you want to use your currency items. If you can get far enough in maps to kill the Guardians, you'll be able to collect fragments required to challenge the Shaper. Of course, that's me. While I'm going to be super busy during the convention, I'll make time to talk to anyone at the Twitch after party who can bring a set of fragments to challenge me. There's one other thing I wanted to mention. Thanks, I know who you are. I know the account name. There's one other thing I wanted to mention while I'm here. We're hiring. So if you want to work for Grinding Gear Games and feel you have the game development experience and skills to make an impact on Path of Exile, please email us at hr@grindinggear.com with a cover letter, resume, and if applicable, code samples or an art portfolio. And the poor person that checks that email address just got a bad surprise. Okay, guys, so it's time to go and explore ExileCon. In addition to the card game, there's heaps of other things to do. You should definitely play the gameplay demo of Act 1 of the Path of Exile 2 campaign. Upstairs, you'll find a chill-out zone where you can try the experimental mobile project. Online at pathofexile.com/exilecon is your schedule that shows what talks are happening where and what time your favorite streamers or developers will be hosting meet and greet sessions or appearing on the streamer stage to answer questions and play Path of Exile 2. Tomorrow, Riker will interview my personal heroes, David Brevik and Max and Eric Schaefer, founders of Blizzard North and creators of Diablo 1 and 2. That's going to be a session you can't miss. You'll probably also want to watch the racing finale tomorrow to see who is going to be crowned the ExileCon 2019 race champion, winning $10,000. Finally, Don't forget to check out the 390 and 400 deep dives in 2 hours here in the main theater for heaps more information about the new expansions. After all of that, we'll see you at the Twitch after party tomorrow night to relax after a long and very busy weekend. Thank you so much for attending and have a great show.
Thank you so much. Oh.
You're not Mike.
I know I'm not Mike.
There we go.
No, there we go. Thank you so much, guys. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It is so good to have you guys here.
Yeah. That was great. Awesome. All right.
It feels like we worked towards this for 13 years now. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, see you around XRCon. I'm the elder, by the way.
Yep.
I'm gonna.
See you guys later.
Даже слов нету.
Ow. Wow.
Yeah.
That was wild. Path
Play it.
2.
When can I play it?
You're
I
like,
want to play
like
it.
an hour, dude. Chill.
But that's like 60 minutes away.
True. Too long. Holy moly. I don't know. Very first impressions. A bit like the thing that grabbed you the most. Go.
Arc and gritty.
Yeah.
Wow. No, just like amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, like the animations, the shape-shifting animations. Oh my god. Crip.
I feel it's a very smart direction for them to take the game. I think a lot of the people that have been invested in Path of Exile for like 7 years now do it because they see a certain genius in the development team, but they see that generally, historically, through the game mechanics. And I think they've taken this point to realize that, you know, maybe we can even blow them away with how the game looks and feels and plays. And look, I haven't played the game. We were honest with you
Ну,
guys.
короче, парни, завершаю стрим. Всем спасибо, хорошо посмотрели, реально интересно. Вот потом это все обсудить 10 раз еще. Давайте, всем спокойной ночи. Увидимся, услышимся завтра.